I can berate and insult you live. I don't need to do it backstage. It's very easy there. So
if you're going to be insulting me, you might as well get paid for it.
Might as well, yeah, right now. But yeah, we have a movie channel that I actually changed the name to. I'm trying to find a good name. Like I suck at names. I Love Comics is because I was lazy. I just was, and then I see so many good titles out there. Like, God dang! I think From the Long Box was the most inspired name. I have another.
Yeah, it's a good title for a comic channel.
Overall, I have no. And by the way, we're just jabbering here, hoping people come in. And Darth Admiral, hello, how you doing? Because I actually thought we were going to be late on this one. You know, I mean, you know how it is with internet. If you're 2 hours after the first people who do something,
it might as well be 2 weeks as far as the internet time scale is concerned. Yeah.
But I don't like watching other people's reviews if I'm about to do a review. But I did watch some guy's English with a cartoon guy with red hair. And he did what we missed with Captain America. And apparently there's somebody, comic movie news or something that has the original storyline for what this movie was going to be. And I watched that. And then the algorithm said, oh, well, here's a whole bunch of reviews. And it's almost like it was like 15 or 20 different videos. And it was almost like that scene in Shaun of the Dead where he's clicking through and everybody has like one word to tell the story. And apparently here's the thing. This movie, people don't like this movie because it's not going to make a lot of money. Like, the fuck you mean? Seriously, I'm like, are you really?
I think the causality might be flipped there.
Do you really give a shit about the box office of a movie? Honestly, I mean, aside from the fact that yes, you want a movie that you like to do well because, you know, especially if it's
and you want movies that are terrible to bomb horribly, so as to demonstrate, don't do this again, Hollywood.
I gotta tell you, I don't care, and maybe it's because for a longest time I did. You know, and I just started seeing the bullshit of it. And I have a hard time when I start seeing the bullshit of a certain thing. I got to call it out and I got to go, okay. But here's, I want to show you something here. Oh, wait, well, this doesn't have anything with the box office. I'll finish the box office, then I'll go to the other thing. So the movie comes out. And first of all, never really trust first week. You want to trust second week more than first week. You get stuff like The Greatest Showman with Hugh Jackman. It comes out at $12 million. It's a bomb. Or even Sonic the Hedgehog.
But it managed to stay in that same ballpark for 3 months.
Yeah, and it ends up being a big hit. Or the big one that I thought was funny is I saw everybody talking about how The Lion King bombed and look how Sonic kicked his ass. And The Lion King has just boomed. I wish
it had been the case. I wish that trend had continued, though, because Sonic deserves a lot more success.
Yeah, The Lion King. Yeah, I know the Lion. I don't care to see The Lion King. I don't know if I ever will. And by this I mean the Mufasa. I don't like the Lion. I was not a big fan of the original that a lot of you guys that were kids in the 90s loved. I watched it. I was like, it's all right. I was amazed to find out it was like the biggest animated film at the time.
I'm not the biggest fan of the Lion King
anyway,
itself originally to begin with.
Back to the box office part of it. Everybody was blasting it because it had a bad box office run. And then it ends up doing well. Nobody's like, well, hey, we were wrong. No, it's just you got to get that in there. You got to get that first thing.
Well, it's like team sports after a fashion. You want the ones you want to do well, and you want the ones that you don't want to do well to not do well, so as to demonstrate the "fuck you, I was right" syndrome.
Yeah. So this movie domestically it makes 100 million, and worldwide it makes 190. I think that what we're seeing there is going to be average Marvel from here on in. So if you really care about box office receipts and if a movie does well in Marvel, this is it. I think this is going to be the baseline, and you'll have movies like Spider-Man or Avengers maybe that'll do better. and maybe they'll come up with Fool Killer the movie or something
movies
like
that
that.
have
And it's
a
going to do
pulse
lower.
will do significantly better than this, but movies that just kind of are there,
Well,
which, by the way, Captain America 4 is the most this movie is there movie I've ever
we'll
seen
get to
in my
that. We're
life.
actually going to get to the movie in just a little bit. I wanted to talk about two things before we actually got into what we thought and everything. And the box office, this coverage of the box office, like it is the demanding factor on whether a movie is good. Let me put it to you this way. There's two movies in 1997 that came out. One is called LA Confidential. One is called Titanic. Now, I like them both, but one is a bit, let's just say a ton better than the other one. You know, liked them both.
Even though Titanic
one
was
should
right
have won
at the
the
heart
Oscar.
of Leo-mania, so
one should have won the Oscar, and if you went by quality, would have made the $2 billion.
Well,
and
I mean,
one actually
cough,
did.
James Cameron cough, but
yeah.
you know.
Well, that's the thing. LA Confidential, infinitely better movie than Titanic. Titanic wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. I'm not going to be one of those people, because Titanic is the only movie to make actually Avatar is. Avatar is probably the better example. It's the only movie nobody likes that made $2 billion. But Titanic really was that. Everybody loved it until they didn't. But point being is that the infinitely better film did not make the money that Titanic did. Point being is that box office don't mean shit as to whether you like it. Unless you have points in the film, you liking the movie shouldn't rest upon how much money it makes at the box office.
Again, I think a lot of people seem to have the causality flipped here for some reason. In my world, a movie being successful should be contingent on whether people like it and go and see it. And even those of us that do play the box office team sports the game. Mm-hmm. Almost everyone who does that knows the big difference whether a movie is successful or not is the second weekend drop. And that's why I'm not passing any particular financial judgment on Captain America 4 as yet, because I suspect its second weekend drop will be somewhere in the 70s, if not the 80s, because it just is that movie. It's the kind of movie that those who liked it didn't like it a lot. They just thought it was all right. And those who disliked it a whole hell of a lot. So that tells me. I
actually am surprised at how many people I hear say it was all right. You know, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Because in fact, I thought it was going to the dumpster fire that everybody talks about. This is the fire that burns into that dumpster fire and wipes away the dumpster fire. I thought it was going to be that bad. I truly thought. The way that Anthony Mackie talked about, well, Captain America doesn't represent America. He doesn't speak that way. That's why I heard him. But when he said that, I thought, dear Lord, he's going to walk in. He's going to walk into Harrison Ford and go, President Trump, Ross. And I thought that was going to be the kind of movie this was going to be.
Which I suppose now is the time we should get into the actual whether the movie is worth a dang yet.
Not yet. We're going to get to it, because I'm still on the box office, and I still have one more thing I want to talk about as well that I see. But now I lost my train of thought on the box office, so maybe we can go. Hold on. Let me say hello to everybody, and Darth Cato's in. Hello. I did send a reply to the Twitter there, guy. If somebody calls us Captain African American, I don't pay attention to what. It's a stupid way to put it, Clint, and I would never do that. Although I would call it Captain Falcon. My thoughts on making Falcon Captain America has been well known. I think being the very first, I like to say African American because it throws people off because they always do the same thing, and I love hearing it because I'll say he's the first Marvel African American character. And they always say Black Panther, which I do because I know they're going to say
African.
Yeah, I could tag them about what part of America is Wakanda in. But in all honesty, he is the first Black American character, and he was the He was the protector of Harlem. He was Captain America's partner. He wasn't his sidekick. This isn't a Nightwing or a Dick Grayson growing and taking the mantle of the Bat. And even when that would happen, because people are always like, well, what if they did that? Every time somebody took the armor of Iron Man, the cowl of Batman, the shield from Captain America, this has been done before. It had always been to prove that the only person who could be those particular characters are the people who were those characters. But my take was, because I was a Captain America fan, I am a Captain America fan. I've got the essentials up here, which span into the 70s. My take.
And we lost him. Oh dear. I shall attempt to entertain you while he is rebooting his computer for the check notes 500th time. I'm very akin to Anglitine on this point. Captain America is one of those characters that never really worked as a mantle, and the trying to force
and those white boys just don't know what a good kegger is. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Oh, now we lost him because I jumped in.
No, I'm still here. I was just waiting for you to finish your point.
You never drop on a good face. Let me take down this. Are you back, dude?
I didn't leave.
Okay, you froze on mine. Let her rip. You're driving. Okay, so anywho. Point being is that I always thought that the Falcon should have been his own character, and the fact that Marvel elevated the character feels like it is an elevation because they gave him Captain America. It's insulting. So my point is he shouldn't have been. Okay. Once again, I'm going to say hello to everybody, and then we'll move on here. Let's see. So what happens if all comic book movies this year bomb? I think they'll reassess. I don't think you're going to see like, oh, no more superhero films. One thing, if I were to steer the ship in the right direction, first I would pay attention to what it says above the title Captain America, and I would adjust accordingly. It does not say Marvel franchise. It says Marvel Studio. It's time to stop trying to think that all movies are going to connect. Make Captain America movies. Make Daredevil movies, make Hulk movies, whatever you want to do. Let them be their own entities, and when the threat is big enough, bring them together for an Avengers film. They have to start treating Marvel like a studio. All studios, be it Paramount, Warner Brothers, Disney, whatever, have big-ass bombs every year. Okay, well, not every year, but a lot of times. Each one has had some sort of, I mean, we talked about Disney. What was it last year? Disney had their worst year. Everything they put out bombs. And then here comes, what's that, Inside Your Head 2?
Inside Out 2.
Inside Out, yeah. And that kind of revitalizes, and all of a sudden, they're back in business. It's
well, and that in and of itself should be a telling thing. If you want people to go to the movies, you have to give them a movie worth seeing in the theater, and that gets people excited. If this year becomes the year of comic book movie flops, it's because the slate isn't particularly compelling. Here, in the case of Captain America 4, you have Falcon taking over Steve's slot, which didn't work in the comics, doesn't work here. You have the Thunderbolts, which is every B or C list character from a bunch of B or C list movies for the last 5 or 6 years. Who thought that was going to work? I honestly think Fantastic Four probably will do at least moderately well, somewhere in like the 700
I hope so.
range.
That one, I think that one looks all right.
And same thing with Superman. Although out of somewhat loyalty to Henry Cavill never getting his shot, I kind of hope that it makes exactly as much money as Man of Steel did. So DC has to then go, shit, we need to stop alienating our fan base for the checks notes 10th time this week.
I'm going look, I've been following Warner Brothers and RDV makes fun. I always say this since I was a projectionist. Yes. But I watch this kind of thing. I had people come in. We did premieres at the theater I worked at. We had studio executives there, and they would always look at me weird when I would say something. You know, you don't put Frighteners out as a summer movie. It's a
Halloween movie. Goddamn! Why don't you use your October slate effectively?
Do not put Prince. I literally said this. Do not put Prince of Egypt against Rugrats. You're gonna get your ass whipped. You don't know what you're talking about. It's a Christmas
predictable
film. No, it's an Easter film, motherfuckers. It deals with Moses. Get it away from Christmas with Rugrats. And Prince of Egypt comes out against Rugrats, gets his ass whipped. So yeah, I see that kind of. Warner Brothers has never failed to shoot itself in the foot. Let's see. Box office and critic reviews have never really cared. And wait, Dark Admiral, we're about to talk about that right there. Anthony Mackie is full of shit. I think what he said was horrendous, and it, like I said, it made me worried about the movie.
It's not as if the movie was already not in kind of a weird space, and then you went and you shot yourself in the foot when you were already bleeding. Now you're openly bleeding, my dude.
Yeah. Let's see. I hear Red Hulk is in only for 10 minutes. Yes, I guess we could say that much. Once again, we're going to get to the actual review in just a little bit. England team, please see if you got it. I did. It went to my Stripe account, which I hate, but it'll be into my regular account in about 3 days. All right, so it's people being dumb and playing team sports. That's why I don't pay attention, just like Rich C. Meyer calls them birthday party clowns. Yeah, sometimes. I mean, it's like with the people you're talking about, when it comes to movie reviews, just listen to an old one, take the movie that they were talking about out, write the new movie in.
Swap it.
Same thing. Yeah.
Do they actually have an opinion, or did they just print money because I hate everything and that makes me money?
Okay. And here's something that I noticed. A lot of people are talking about the reviews. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe these reviews. And can you believe that the,
Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah, can you believe that the critics are done with with Marvel movies? And they point, oh my gosh, it's got a 49%. And I'm like, guys, it must suck because it's got 40. But guys, can you believe the critics just hate this fucking movie? It's only 49. Are we going to ignore the 80%? I mean, well, okay, since when have we ever paid attention to fucking critics? Hasn't it always been the popcorn meters, they're calling it now? I don't
really trust Rotten Tomatoes audience score either, ever since they changed the algorithm with Captain Marvel and get rid of any that are like below 2 stars because reasons.
I agree with you. I don't watch and I don't pay attention to Rotten Tomato either. But when you're showing it as part of your reason why this movie sucks, which
people make disingenuous arguments, but that's unfortunately how the game is sometimes played.
If all of a sudden you give a shit about critics and not the audience is giving it an 80%, which isn't grand, but it's not horrible. It's still a passing.
And then there's the question of whether that's actually an honest reflection of people's actual.
Of course, like how many of them work for Disney and Marvel? Which, by the way, Disney. I being a person who had a Disney channel, who lived near Disney, I follow on Facebook a couple of Disney park threads. I don't know what you call them, pages, whatever. But one thing I knew, and I found out, and I knew for a fact, you could point them out, is that Disney hires people for social media. So when somebody says something bad, they bombard it with good. So you're right. You can't trust that either very much. So, but that's neither here nor there to the people who for the longest effing time have been telling us that the critics part is bad.
The critics are full of shit, which they usually are. But that's...
Oh, hey, no, Henry, don't worry. My saying I don't like, that's not on you. I don't know why some goes to Stripe and some goes straight into PayPal. But as soon as it, the way I figure it is, I liked your proposal and sounds good. That sounds good. So yeah, I guess if you wanted to do the artist thing, I could fill up next month's. But if you wanted to do with what you're talking about, we'll wait, not next month's, but season 12. If you want to do what you're talking about, where we take over a whole month, that'll be season 13. But we can fill it up from here between then. Let's get to it, sir. Because I did not go. My expectations of Captain America were in the below the floorboards, and I've never entered a movie like that before. I usually I don't really pay attention because I've seen too many good trailers for bad movies, bad trailers for good movies. So I'm not one that can be affected like that. But when Anthony, like I said, when Anthony Mackie said Captain America is not represented by America, and I think that's what he said.
It was just an immediate face palm and like, oh, here we go. Yeah.
I've seen this happen with the comics. Why do I want to go and do this to myself with the movies? But I've got one of those AMC cards, so I'll, I see as many movies as a week just so I win that battle. Yeah. I don't know where to start except for, this is going to be a spoiler movie review.
Here's where we'll start. It's not as bad as the show it's based on. It's not.
Winter Soldier sucked.
It's not as bad. It's not as bad as Eternals, which for some ungodly reason, Eternals plays a major role in this movie, and I would argue it's not even as bad as the Ed Norton Hulk. But here's the reason why.
Ed Norton Hulk is great. I mean, that is one of the better Marvel movies.
I don't particularly care for the Ed Norton Hulk, but that's neither here nor there. But here's the reason why it's not as bad as any of the aforementioned, which is, while Falcon and the Winter Soldier was motivated by mostly spite and Antifa sympathy, this movie is the most banal, empty, soulless, dull obligation movie I have ever seen. This movie doesn't contain a lot of bad shit or a lot of things that will make you angry, because it doesn't contain anything that will make you feel anything. It is an absence of a movie. Like, it is a antimatter movie. It creates a void where there was once movie. And if the behind the scenes stuff is in any way accurate, I think what happened is this movie was originally supposed to tie together Falcon and the Winter Soldier and She-Hulk, which would have actually been as bad as any of the above. But when She-Hulk and Falcon and the Winter Soldier bombed like a motherfucking hurricane, they decided to reshoot two or 3/3 of the entire thing. And so instead of being motivated by spite and negativity, like She-Hulk and Falcon and the Winter Soldier before them, and or Eternals in its desire to be freaking anti-Eternals, it was just motivated by a simple absence of any particular motive whatso frickin' ever. It is Valium if Valium were a movie, basically.
You mentioned a couple of things, saying it's soulless. Yeah, I'll tell you what, this is to just kind of consolidate that. If this was a straight to streaming movie, or what we would call straight to DVD or video back in the day, we would be talking about how fantastic this movie was. Seriously, because that's the level this movie is. I'm sure you've heard somebody else say this. It is exactly that, what you said, the reshoots and everything. We kept hearing about it. And usually I also don't let that color my opinion about it. It doesn't matter what happened behind the scenes. It matters what ends up on the screen. But what ended up on the screen was remnants of 3 different stories. And that's one of the big problems. And you could tell it was broken by reshoots. The original story, which I found out today, I watched that guy's video, was supposed to be Superpowered Serpent Society. I remember hearing that, and I was very excited. I wanted to see, because I think the Serpent Society, with their superpowers, with their snake-like powers, would have been one of the most comic book things that we would have ever seen on the big screen. And I think even if it was a bad film, I would have at least enjoyed that particular aspect of it. You know, like I could have gone, oh my gosh, I can't believe we saw Anaconda, or you know, Asper, even Diamondback.
It would have at least been swinging for some kind of fence, whereas this movie beats itself to death on the edge of a fence post, I think.
The part of that is the problem. And also we heard that they did a lot of reshoots, you know, oh my gosh, Trump won, therefore maybe we should take out the line where he goes, excuse me, President Trump. I mean, there's a, you know, where you actively have Ross B, because they did a good job of not making him Trump. Aside from the blue suits, they really did.
You could kind of tell that was the original intent, though, behind the reshoots.
Oh, absolutely, to take out all the references. But like I said, I don't care what happens off screen. I care what happens on screen. And what's on screen, there's not a lot of woke. There's not a lot of, did I freeze or did he? No, but there's not a lot of woke, and there's not a lot of all that kind of bullshit or anything like that. It's just a movie. So I was okay with that kind of thing. Let's see. MCU filler. Suddenly we jumped to Secret War Doomsday Arc with a line of Yeah, we're going to. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. But Bono or Norton all day. But those movies were terrible. Spiky hair, Lou Ferrigno, Hulk. I actually liked Banner. Let's see. I love Ed Norton as Bruce Banner, the Hulk with Tim.
And there he goes. While we're waiting for him to restore his connection again. The fundamental thing here for me is, in retrospect, having watched the absence that is this movie, I almost wish we had gotten the spiteful, vindictive, ties into She-Hulk, ties into Falcon and the Winter Soldier version, because at least making me angry would make me feel something, whereas this movie is just the absence of anyone giving a shit.
Yeah. Okay. So I got it. Once again, I'm pretty sure you guys have heard a lot of this, but they brought back the big dead god in the middle of the ocean, which, by the way, that should have been the Avengers movie. Eternals, there's a celestial coming out of the planet. You have an Avengers movie where they're trying to stop the destruction of the planet, because that much water displacement, that kind of cracking open of the Earth's surface would have done some. That's a disaster film with superheroes. Or
failing that, you literally could have had a horde of Celestials doing their whole cosmic judgment thing, being the next Thanos level threat. The Celestials come a knocking and go, we are here to judge Earth for how it has developed as a species and so on, and then
even
probably
before you got to that, though,
and who else have to convince them not to destroy everything.
Even though you before even that you get to that, you have to deal with the fact that Japan's underwater. Japan was a big factor in this movie, but because they didn't want to make China the bad guy, you got to send that movie to China to make money, baby.
So transparent.
But that celestial coming out of the earth would have caused earthquakes. It would have caused tidal waves,
volcanic
typhoons,
shenanigans.
That thing, there is a Avengers movie where they're trying to stop people from dying from the destruction. Thor could have stopped typhoons. I mean, there are a lot of scenes we didn't see because nobody really thought the Eternals through. And you know what? It could have been anything. This thing could have been on Neptune, but no, they put it in the middle of the ocean. But yeah, that's what they did on Dead Quinn. They made Japan the bad guy on this one instead of China because they want to send the movie to China. And I'm surprised they didn't say those fucking Taiwanese. Yeah.
Okay, and while we're talking about the 300,000-pound celestial in the middle of the ocean, I'm not even a Wolverine fan or an X-Men fan, but I will tell you that I could hear when it got to the and this is our source for this new mineral, adamantium. I could hear the Wolverine haters just from, like, the world over when it got to that line. I'm like, oh my god. First of all, that makes no freaking sense, because as one of the 5 people on this planet who cared enough about the Eternals to remember the Eternals, they turned the Celestial into a stone sculpture at the end of Eternals. So where in the hell is all that metal coming from? Like, if they had, like, if they had just killed it and it was still a Celestial, then okay, you could say something like the armor was made of adamantium or whatever, or was reforged into adamantium or whatever. But no, they turned a Celestial into a stone sculpture. So where exactly is the alleged adamantium coming from in the frickin' first place?
It's calcium buildup. They're just chipping that away to the
adamantium.
Here's something. How are they cutting the adamantium if it's anyway?
If it's uber vibranium, which it is, then
apparently this is just falling off of them for them to collect. One of the things I thought of is, wow, they just destroyed the economy of Wakanda. With one little sentence. Oh, we have adamantium over here. We're going to, Wakanda's done. Which they should have been done anyway, because
back to the third world economy for you, Wakanda. I guess
Wakanda's economy should have been done as soon as Iron Man, as soon as any of the smart ones found vibranium, because they could have. What's his name? Tony Stark's dad should have at this point in time. Because he dealt with the vibranium for Cap's shield, he should already have a synthetic vibranium that would have put Wakanda out of business.
I can buy why he didn't make a synthetic version, because it was still, at least ostensibly, the 1930s and 40s, so maybe that technology wasn't available just yet. And it was a tiny singular chunk of vibranium that got turned into Cap's shield. So I can buy why that didn't happen. I can't quite make the same excuse for why Tony doesn't.
Yeah, well, he's that
do something equivalent to that.
So the basic story here is the Celestials there. They finally admit it, and Harrison Ford, being General Ross, is the president now, and he wants to have a peace accord where everybody's sharing the Celestial instead of fighting over it. And of course, there are some countries that are going, well, you just want to keep it for yourself. So, we're the bad guys. We're Japan. Because that's exactly how Japan would act. Not China, Japan.
That's not gonna age like milk in the space of like 2 seconds or anything.
And once again, spoilers all over the place. You find out that he also has been keeping the leader from the Norton Hulk movie in prison, and he's been using him to build technologies. He's been using him for a lot of stuff, including he had a heart attack, and he used the leader to create a pill for him that would stop his heart attack, and he has to keep taking it. Well, come to find out that this pill has tiny bits of gamma radiation. And now the leader figures is the time to trigger it. So, of course, we see the Red Hulk. I guess we're bouncing all over the place.
Also, for those who had any hopes whatsoever that the leader would at least look cool or be interesting, he reminded me the most of the human villain from Green Lantern, the one that got parallax infected.
Yeah, by the way, both of them are supposed to have huge heads. And both of them end up just having warp heads a little bit. Yeah. Yeah,
it is the most lame look of this character ever. And I really like the leader as a villain, and he could be a really interesting villain for the MCU in general, because, you know, it's one of those super geniuses a la Doctor Doom or the like that could easily be a, like, team threat level. But again, basically take the parallax infected doctor from Green Lantern, and that's basically all we get with the leader is just he has, like, gamma cancer, I guess, in his head or something.
Yeah. Give me just a second. Here it is. All right. Now, gosh, I didn't hate the way the leader looked. He just didn't look like comic book version of him. Which I get it if you don't like it, because look, we look forward to having these characters. When somebody, okay,
that used to be a really strong selling point of the MCU.
Let me finish.
Sorry.
When it used to be, when we heard somebody was going to be in a movie, we were excited. Okay, finally, we're going to see him live action. It's going to be cool. But I don't think anybody really has that that feeling. This is what he looks like in the movie. Alrighty, and this. Hold on, I thought I had the. Okay, here it is. I thought I had the bit where the art. What was it? The first picture we get from it. I thought. Here we go. Okay, I think I've got it now. Yep. Okay, that is what he looked like in the movie, and this is what the promotion was supposed to look like. Now, I think we would probably hear a lot of people making fun of him either way, tell you the truth. But
at least if they had leaned into it, it would have gotten accuracy points, though, I think.
Yeah. I'm not going to fault Tim Blake Nelson. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to fault any of the actors. I think Anthony Mackie gave it his all.
They did.
Yeah, hold on. I thought Anthony Mackie gave it his all. I thought Harrison Ford carried this freaking movie on his back, along with Tim Blake Nelson, who played the leader. I thought those two just freaking nailed it. That, not him, but him. I really think the actors did a great job, all of them. They just had a bad...
Didn't have anything to work with.
Yeah, it was just bad scripts. It was bad reshoots. And the thing is I wish I could, because hey, Ashley, how you doing? My daughter's here, and she says, sounds like a shit show. No, it wasn't. I would respect it if it was. You know, at least then I could say, holy crap, this is the worst film of all time since the last worst film of all time. But no, this is, like I said, if this was 1990s and it was a released to video kind of movie, it would be a cult classic at this point in time.
It's if Valium were a movie, basically, is the way I've termed it.
It is the most middle of the road. I'm watching everything, and everything seems to be just fine. The acting's good. Everything else is just fine. There's a lot of talk about one thing that bothered me. He doesn't have the super soldier serum. So he doesn't have the strength that doesn't have the strength that Captain America has. He doesn't have the agility, the speed, and all that kind of stuff. But at the beginning of this, you see him throwing the shield around like he does and everything. At one point in time, he says, well, Wakanda technology. And that is supposed to be the freaking plot armor of all plot armors. To the point where he's taking down missiles and just doing things that
he had the power would not
be able to do. Yeah.
But the problem is, half the time when he's doing the agility and so on, he's not freaking wearing the Wakandan power suits.
He does some incredible things and there are certain hits and everything where, like, well, you're dead, man. That's just it. I did like the fact that his strategy to fight the Hulk was stay the fuck away. Great strategy when you're the Falcon. Because you're not going to beat him. And by the end, the Hulk dismantles him. And I really like that. That was something.
For the 10 minutes, he's actually more like 5 to 7 minutes.
That was marketing. Whoever marketed the movie, they cared more about selling tickets than telling a story.
And I mean, it worked. Look at the opening weekends.
Well, yeah, they wanted to sell tickets, so you put in the Hulk. But the thing is, they put the Hulk in every gosh darn commercial, picture, whatever. And the whole thing is a buildup. They should have left the Hulk out of it, and we would have gone, holy shit, Red Hulk! You know, and then word of mouth would have built this fucker. But
that's the other thing. This movie is more of a sequel to Ed Norton Hulk than it is to anything Captain America related.
Yep, 17 years and we get that crap for a yeah. I don't know. I got this black spot. I could see it. Like I'm vain enough to be focusing right here. Anyway, you guys stop noticing that. Anyway, so anyway, I get that.
I didn't notice it until you drew attention.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm doing this, and I'm probably the only one who notices it. So I just figured I would turn into the joke. But it's ridiculous that kind of thing happens, where it's like we wait so long, we want to see him. The biggest thing for Dalton, how long have you been waiting to see death on screen? Still waiting. You know, we got Sandman. We got a Sandman TV show, and for you're still waiting for Sandman to be on TV.
Yeah, it's but yeah, Agatha all along at least did me right with regards to how to do death properly and everything.
Yeah.
But that's me once again defending Agatha all along, which is not the thing we're doing today.
Right. I
will say, even though Captain America isn't exactly in my corner of things, I have a massive soft spot for the first Captain America movie. Controversial opinion, I think the first Captain America First Avenger, is still the best of the trilogy. Which isn't to say that the others are bad or anything. In fact, the only trilogy that's as good, or at least arguably as good as the Captain America trilogy, is the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy.
Agreed.
But that being said, I think a lot of people slept on Captain America First Avenger because that movie is really good. And one of the things that does bother me here, with regards to they keep harping on the you're not Steve Rogers thing. The thing about Steve that makes him special has very little, if anything, to do with his powers. And this goes back to Falcon and the Winter Soldier not understanding how the freaking serum worked. For those that have a fondness for, and therefore a memory of, the first Captain America movie, the line that always stuck with me was, good becomes great, bad becomes worse, which is why Erskine was looking for someone who was good, so that the serum would take care of the rest. He wanted to find someone who was innocent and pure and good-hearted and so on. And that is what made Steve Rogers special. What made him inspiring wasn't just the superpowers. It was the serum does what it does, and it takes things that are good and makes them great. Things that are bad become worse, which is why a Nazi sticks himself with the serum and he becomes a red mouthing skeleton, because bad becomes worse. And people, and by people I mean the writers, seem to have forgotten what made Steve Rogers a likable, engaging, compelling character. Much like Superman, the most remarkable thing about Captain America in the MCU is not his powers, it's his goodness. It's his unvarnished, moral purity.
It's something that is not seen as part of who Superman is, part of who Captain America is. Let me get a couple of questions here, because I actually really like these questions I want to answer. Okay, for MK, who looked worse on screen, the leader or MODOK? I would say MODOK. The leader, at least they went in a direction and they stuck to it. Whether or not you liked it, I got to respect it. The fact that they went all in with what their decision was. With MODOK, it seemed like they wanted to make MODOK, but they didn't finish the job. When MODOK has his war mask down, that looks more like MODOK in the comics than anything else. They all they did was they superimposed the actor who played Darren, whatever his name was, onto MODOK. That's it. They should have added
Frost, Yellow Jacket.
They should have put they should have put like wrinkles. They should have put more depth into his face, kind of scrunched it. If you look at MODOK, he's got lines all over his face that make him just look like he's constantly angry. The fact that they gave him a personality even beyond I want to kill you or evil thoughts, I think is, oh, hi, how you doing? No, that's not MODOK. But I truly think the look of him, if they had made him look more angry, if they put a little more lines, a little more depth and color on his face, I think it would have looked a lot better rather than just superimposing.
MK asked me a thing in the comments, which I now have to speak to. As much as I love Neil Gaiman's death, Netflix did that dirty. And as much as I think Aubrey Plaza was an excellent incarnation of death in Agatha all along, writing-wise and atmosphere-wise, Julian, I want to say his name is Julian Morrison, but I might be mistaken. But the guy who played Death originally in Supernatural is how you freaking write Death. My God, his opening speech to Dean when Dean is coming in there with the I'm the hero mask on, and Death is just like, imagine how you'd feel if a bacterium sat at your table and started to get snarky. That the way Supernatural wrote Death originally was just peak how you write an incarnation of Death, just full stop. But that's not there. I had to answer the question.
I do agree with this. Glinzer saying that people went for Red Hulk, not for Sam. I absolutely believe that. I do want to speak a little bit more on the Red Hulk part in just a little bit. Gail. Ashley is saying, I just looked up what MODOK looked like. Why the hell does he look so friendly? Exactly. I mean, think about this. The video game, Marvel Alliance, did MODOK a hell of a lot better than the freaking movie did.
Yeah.
I do also believe that that people who wrote this movie did not really read the comics. I think they're told not to, because they want to create their own universe rather. Even though Kevin Feige incorrectly calls it the 616, it isn't. It's their version of the 616, which means it's not the 616.
It's a different universe, and it's had the 1999 designation forever and a day too.
So this is what we're gonna so there's a thing throughout the movie, I brought it up a little bit earlier, where they do talk about how Sam Wilson hasn't taken the super soldier syndrome of serum. Yes, that would have been a great answer to it, because he's just like, no, I don't need it. He could have flat out said, this changes you beyond just giving you powers. Just like you said, if you're a good man, it makes you more good. If you're a bad man, it makes you more bad. It would have been a brilliant, hold on, let me finish. It would have been a brilliant line for him to say, I don't know where I would land in that. I like to think I'm a good man, but I've done bad things. And that would have been a great line that explains his character. And you could even have that be his arc, where he's got more confidence in himself as a hero that deserves the name Captain America.
Or
go ahead.
Or better yet, and I know this would make a bunch of people upset, but he could simply say, I don't want to take it because I know I'm not as good as Steve was. That gives the necessary respect to Steve, which it stuns me that instead of thinking about Steve Rogers as the sort of paragon of goodness that he is, which makes him rather unique among all the Marvel MCU characters, because most of the MCU heroes are the reformed or redeemed asshole. Iron Man, reformed/redeemed asshole. Thor, reformed/redeemed asshole. Doctor Strange, reformed/redeemed asshole. Steve Rogers is pretty much the only character, except for maybe Peter Parker Spider-Man, who was just a good man to begin with and was given his chance to act on that worthiness. Again, Captain America is basically Marvel's answer to Superman from a character perspective. And I wish they focused more on that, because, again, if you remember the first Captain America movie, that was like 2/3 of the movie was Erskine searching for a good, purer than driven snow person so that the serum wouldn't screw them over. Meanwhile, you've got you've got Agent K there, General Agent K, being pissed off because we've got all these burly, macho men, and why don't you stick one of them with it? And Erskine is just like, because they'll turn into bullies, and I've seen what that does already.
I'm trying to find some. Some information here because I do want to talk about. I think her name's Leela Taylor. She plays the bodyguard.
The totally not supposed to be Black Widow.
Leela Taylor is her character name. Excuse me. I'm trying to find. Okay, it's so more boom. Okay. All right, so we're watching this, right? Okay, IMDb. So, okay, they're not going to tell me here. Maybe they'll tell me on the. Well, that ain't her either. God damn it! All right. Anywho, the character of Sandstorm or whatever her name is. That's not her name. She's supposed to be Israeli. She's got an afro in the comics. I forget the character's name. You guys probably could figure it out. But she is played by an actress who is about 4 feet tall, right? And it looks like it's all leg, no body. So she looks like she has a condition. And she's going around and she's beating the snot out of people who are 2x, 3x, 4x her size. At one point though, she hits somebody and there's a sound, boom, and the guy goes flying. And I thought, okay, well, she's got super strength. I get it now. Little person, super strength. I could buy that. Fine. Okay. But then of course she doesn't. And she does look like she's got a condition that's kept her from growing properly.
And here's go ahead.
Every time she was on screen, I was brought out of the movie just because of her size and the fact that she's not supposed to have superpowers. Go on ahead.
But here's
Sabra, thank you.
Yeah, here's the thing. And this applies, I think, to the whole movie because the fight choreography here is just bad compared to any of the previous Captain America movies. But that's neither here nor there. They need to start having these actors go through like martial arts training and stuff again. Because you can have a small person who knows how to kick ass. Like off the top of my head, there's a character named Karen Murphy in Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files, and that's her whole deal. Everyone always underrates her because she's 5'0", but she's also a competition shooter who's been a black belt in like 5 different kinds of martial arts for most of her life, and so people underestimate her, and then she beats the shit out of them.
The quick shooter I can get.
Do that if the character looks like they've put in the work to be formidable, period, and B, show them actually solving the issue with technique and skill and training rather than physical force, because you can do that if you know what you're doing with martial arts. But they don't have these actors go through like martial arts training or choreography training, and so it looks like shit, regardless of whether they're supposed to have superpowers or not.
Yeah, this little girl though, and look, skill is skill, but if you get a size difference big enough, that skill ain't doing shit. Okay, so I do want to get a couple of questions here. The first one though is your friend Bats. Aaron, what's with the clickbait title? You're better than that. The name's Eglantine, please. I've used it in public. By the way, I'm just kidding, but I have actually told people, what's your name? Eglantine. God dang it. In all honesty, it's mocking. Okay, I didn't think of it as clickbait. I'm just thinking, good Lord, because I did see a whole bunch of titles today, and this is it's not clickbait as much as it's a combination of a whole bunch of titles on a whole bunch of videos.
He's parodying a bunch of the Black Pill titles.
So while I'm writing it, it's like Captain America, biggest bomb in the MCU of badness. That's what the of badness is supposed to convey, the ridiculousness of the rest of it. This is this movie is cholera. If you that if it made more money, it would have been a lot better. If you judge by all the titles of the other reviews. Mind you, I didn't watch the reviews. I only I watched one guy talk about what the story could have been, but I didn't. I just got it from the titles, and this is me more mocking the titles and bringing everything together than anything else. Cap 4 looks good to me. I want to see it. That's awesome. To me, it was just fine. Like I said, if it were earlier, if this was a straight to streaming or straight to DVD or something, I'd probably have a lot. I think a lot of people would have been, holy crap, did you see this movie about so-and-so? That was actually kind of cool.
And I'm a lot harsher. I'm a lot harsher on this movie because the only saving grace to it, in my opinion, is it didn't do anything to piss me off. But that's damning it with faint praise. Like I said in my kind of opening rant, it's not as bad as Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's not as bad as Eternals. It's not as bad as She-Hulk. And if you, like me, didn't particularly care for the Ed Norton Hulk all that much, I didn't think it was as bad as the Ed Norton Hulk. But now, that's very much damning it with faint praise, but because the only reason it's not as bad as any of those things is because it didn't try to make you feel anything. This thing
was torn apart by reshoots. It really was, to the point where there is no emotional connection. What happens if Superman, the other comic book movies, bomb this year? Well, we've actually seen this. DC will fire James Gunn. They will complain. They'll put out a couple of movies, cancel one, and then they'll find another director to find a direction for their movies. And Marvel will tell you that you're a racist, and they'll continue on the path that they've been going on because, God damn it, they're right and you're wrong. That we've actually seen that happen. That's why even though what was it, phase 4? If you're not going to have an Avengers as a period or an exclamation point, why even call it a phase at all? This has not been phase 4 and 5. Because they had to market it somehow. This has not been phase 4 and 5. This is, if you're talking phases, this has just been one long phase since Endgame, because we haven't had that cathartic ending. There should have been something there that said, boom, now we move on. And
I think they tried to have Multiverse of Madness be the capstone to phase 4, kind of.
I think actually it was supposed to be Loki, because we see him at the end with all the multiverses going through him. I don't know.
Right.
The point being is
God of Stories upgrade.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Let's see. Zara and Kobakai. Englantine knows who I'm talking about. The little exotic looking chick. Oh yeah. She's a pretty lady and she can move quickly. Yep. Disney doesn't care about the fans. They just want to make easy money from us. I went to see it. Like I said, I bought the card. So I see 3 movies a week. So what's that? 12. So it's $20. So I prorate that shit down to $2.25 each. You know, it's that's the way I figure it. Black Widow was small chick without powers beating up a bunch of dudes in Iron Man 2. And but she's got a little, no, this is not,
like she could handle herself.
I agree, but she's also she's got more weight to her. So, and I think she can sell it a lot better. This young lady, she didn't look the part. I mean, she just looked.
It's like I was saying, have them take martial arts classes and have them work out so they look like they. Because you can have someone who's small but extremely stocky, like Betty Gilpin's character from The Hunt is very much this kind of character. Who, in theory, you probably would look at her and go, "That's a very small woman." But it's believable that she can kick her ass because she carries the weight of someone who knows how to kick ass properly.
And look, it's not saying they're not skilled. I mean, I'm bigger than Ronda Rousey. I would be very afraid to get into the ring with Ronda.
I would pay for
that. Or Gina Carano. I would not survive that particular fight. It's just that, like I said, after a while, the size difference doesn't matter. You know, the skill wouldn't matter if the size difference is great enough. I will say this. I do want to end on something of a positive note. I really did enjoy the final battle between Falcon and the Hulk. Like I said earlier, the Falcon was all about, I don't go near him because the Hulk's going to kick my ass. And that's Hulk. Yeah, and that's what ends up happening. You do see the scene where he's holding the shield and the suit's vibranium, so it's absorbing a whole bunch of kinetic energy, but Hulk overpowers it. I'll tell you what this movie did. This movie made me want another Hulk film. It really did. I want a Hulk. I don't want necessarily a Red Hulk film, although if I have a choice between 80-year-old Harrison Ford or 40-year-old Mark Ruffalo, I'm going 80-year-old Harrison Ford any day. But yeah, it kind of made me want a Hulk film. Also, this is something you like. I did not like Falcon Winter Soldier. I'm not one of those who go, oh, you're stupid for liking something I don't like. And and I've had these arguments because, one, no matter what someone else on this panel may say, the Scarlet Witch TV show, WandaVision, was fucking awesome. It was one of the best things Marvel has ever done.
One good episode and a couple meh episodes is where I'm sticking that.
Yeah, yeah, we've argued that a lot.
But like I said, Agatha did right by me. The Agatha All Along show took what episode 8 of WandaVision did and did it for like 7 more episodes, and I'm good with that.
There you go. I liked WandaVision, says Tevye. Yeah, me too. The TV shows I didn't like. I didn't. Well, it's not like I didn't like them. I just I didn't care for them.
Englentine is very much the Paula Abdul of our American Idol judges over here. Guys.
Hey, look, I like liking things. Okay, I enjoy watching things. In the very least, I can find something entertaining. I might not care for it. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I just did not care for. Loki, I was entertained by, and then the second season I actually liked. But there are TV shows that I like that you guys would look. I legitimately liked Ms. Marvel. I liked the Kamala Khan show. And
all the more power to you. But it can sometimes be very sad to watch you try and find the good in some like objectively bad stuff, because
I don't think that's legitimately bad. I honestly, and part of the reason why is the young lady who stars in it. Miss Marvel
isn't an example, but I've seen you.
I could not say good things about What If.
I've seen you twist and pretzelize yourself into trying to say something good about something that's pretty universally bad, and it sometimes almost feels like, oh dear, Grandpa's having an Alzheimer's episode again.
Hey,
kind of thing.
There are legitimately bad Marvel projects. Echo was a pile of shit on top of shit that's wrapped around burnt hair.
Well, it's
into
mostly just forgettable.
Yeah, no, Echo was shit. Echo was not forgettable. Echo was shit. It was horrible. First season of Loki, forgettable. Echo was just a pile of shit. It was bad.
I guess this is the part where I am slightly nicer to Echo than you are, because Echo's main problem, as far as I was concerned, was it's just a non-entity. Actually, funny story, I ended up putting Echo right next to this movie because both of them, in my opinion, are just basically a dull absence of a thing. And again, I almost wonder if I would have respected more had they done the combination sequel to Falcon and Winter Soldier and sequel to She-Hulk that was kind of the original idea. Because at least spite is an emotion. Like, someone trying to piss me off is at least trying to get an emotional reaction out of me. Whereas this movie was the warmed over leftovers of several projects that weren't even all that good to begin with. But
Captain
at least
America, it's wait, somebody actually said something along these lines. As a rule, horrible projects are not forgettable, says Rhaegar. And I agree. I remember why I hate What If. Season 1. I actually have not seen season 2 or season 3.
I don't. I don't get your
bad.
hatred for that either. To be honest with you,
I remember why I hate What If. I will not remember Captain America until I watch it again, and I will watch it again because occasionally I'll take a month and I'll just watch through the MCU, or a month and a half as it's getting longer and longer. Because
48 projects down, several to go, folks.
The big problem is if I'm on Disney Plus, they've got the timeline. You start with Captain America: First Avenger, then you go to Cap Marvel, and it goes through basically if you're watching them in chronological order, which is good until you hit around Guardians of the Galaxy, because then it goes Guardians of the Galaxy, Daredevil. And then it goes to the TV shows, and then season 2 of the TV show. Season 3, you know.
When did Daredevil get added to the timeline? Because as far as I was aware, the Netflix shows and the ABC shows are non-canon because Ike Perlmutter and Kevin Feige had their falling out. Not since
Matt Murdock showed up in Spidey No Way Home.
I knew they were soft rebooting it, but I didn't think it was straight up canonizing.
It's straight up now. Yeah, it's part of it. So I'm on Daredevil season 2, which, by the way, not a chore to watch. You want to talk about the best of Marvel, Daredevil. But yeah, I will watch Captain America again, but when I watch it, it'll seem like the first time, because I think I'm going to forget everything about Captain America: New World Order. And there's certain things like when I watch The Dark World, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. You know, I didn't hate The Dark World the same way as others, but I watched it in Thailand it was in Thai, so I actually was making up dialogue in my own head, and I was, you know, and they had Thai actors doing the characters. So here's Idris Elba, you know, one of the manliest men that ever and
very high Thai voice.
He comes in, Tor, how you? I'm like, did you even watch the movie before you found a voice? Because we going on.
You guys see what I mean about him occasionally trying his damnedest to find something when there's just not much there.
That's ridiculous. I thought he was still talking about Echo. Yeah, I did not like Echo, by the way.
Yeah, no, Echo's bad, but for me, Echo's bad because it's forgettable, in the same vein as this movie. That's why, in my personal ranking list, Echo is actually just slightly above this movie in terms of where I rank it relative to the other MCU projects.
Echo may actually be worse than What If. Really,
I don't get your hatred for What If either, but that's. I'm
willing to give season 2, and I'm willing to give season 2 and season 3. Maybe I'll watch through it again. Let's see how they are going to mess Wonder Man up. I don't want to watch Wonder Man because it's not Wonder Man. You know, it's like
they're not even doing the character at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to see it. I will.
It's the character in name only, basically.
Yeah, I will, but I've never had that happen before, even with Echo. All signs pointed to Echo's gonna suck. And I was like, okay, well, you know, let's give it its day in court. And I watched it. I watched all of the episodes and everything. And but Wonder Man, no, I don't. I will watch it, but I don't want to. It's kind of like I'm on episode 2 of Cloak and Dagger.
And you'll probably stay there forevermore.
I don't see a reason to watch episode 3. You know, I actually was looking for the Runaways season 2. I couldn't find it. I don't know. Anyway, What If show should have put up different artworks as Black Spider. I hope Fantastic Four I really hope that's good, because I like the aesthetic of it. I like the way it looks, and I like the family dynamic that they're trying to sell, and I hope they really steer into that. So Fantastic Four looks good to me. So, by the way, so does Superman, and I know that one's getting blasted, so we'll see. I'm
cautiously optimistic for both Superman and Fantastic Four. I have absolutely no. I have neither hopes for Thunderbolts nor any desire to particularly go out and see Thunderbolts. I expect that Thunderbolts is going to wind up being right next to this movie when I go ahead and rank them, because I keep my ranking list pretty tight whenever a new project comes out, and I'm also a lot harsher than Eglantine is on a lot of things. Like I tallied it up the other day, and so far, out of 48 projects, in my opinion, 17 of them are good, 14 of them are meh to disposable, and 16 of them are bad. And this is on the lower side of the bad tier, by which I mean it's not as bad as a bunch of stuff, so it's in the middle of the bad set of MCU projects.
I probably got 5 or 6 bad things not surprising anybody. Most of them come after Endgame. I didn't really hate anything before Endgame, other than I didn't like Captain Marvel, and yeah, that's it. That's the only one I actively hated. Like there were obviously there's some better than others. It's like I mentioned Thor: Dark World. It wasn't the best, but yeah. But for me, Captain Marvel was the only bad movie, and it wasn't because she said something stupid backstage. It was because what was on screen sucked.
I think the wheels started coming off as soon as Infinity War was over, because Infinity War was the last like unironically truly good MCU movie for me. I hated it is good, but it has a lot of flaws. I wish it could be better, but
the Mouth of Madness I'm talking about.
Yeah, Multiverse of Madness was good, but it had a lot of marks. It managed to be good by the skin of its teeth for me. Okay. But I hated Endgame. I hated Captain Marvel. Like half of the TV shows are just unwatchably bad. She-Hulk, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Secret Invasion, Echo, etc. That being said, there is still the occasional good project, like Multiverse of Madness was good by the skin of its teeth, and I will genuinely stand by Agatha all along. If it had been 7 episodes instead of 9, and they just got rid of episodes 6 and 9, it would in fact be the best TV project the MCU has done so far.
My wife, by the way, adopted a cat. It's not even ours. Like the neighbors literally were looking for their cat, and I'm like,
I was going to say I could hear meows earlier, and I'm like, that's not coming from my end.
I'm allergic,
so I'm not sure what's
she sat
going
in
on
my
there.
chair. She sat in my chair, and now I can feel my throat closing. I quit watching Star Wars Acolyte after both Bath in the Lake scene. I stopped watching. Never saw it. Never watched one fucking episode of Acolyte. Couldn't do it.
I've seen it all. It is terrible. And as someone who loves the like mystical side of Star Wars with the Sith sorcery and stuff, they massacred my boy.
Austin says Thor 1 and 2 is aging like wine. Every time I watch them, they get better. One more so than the other. That happened with the Incredible Hulk with me.
You can
Infinity War was and is the last MCU for me. Unlike Michael and Godfather 3, I am really out. I loved Endgame. I really loved Endgame. I get it. A lot of people that have talked about it. I get why you didn't. It's just one that really resonated with me. I also, after that, like I said, I think WandaVision was awesome. I mentioned Ms. Marvel being good. I thought Hawkeye was a lot of fun. I did like Spider-Man. The Doctor Strange movie was decent. That was good. I think you like that one more than I do.
Yeah, I do. Multiverse of Madness actually managed to make it into my top 10 until Agatha came out and bumped it out of my top 10 because Agatha had a lot. Agatha and Multiverse of Madness have a lot in common and a lot of the same good things in common, but Agatha did it better. And again, if it weren't for those 2 episodes of Agatha that I didn't particularly care for, those being episodes 6 and 9, Agatha would be the best MCU TV project, full stop. Because those 2 episodes exist and kind of de-rank Agatha a little bit, Werewolf by Night is my favorite MCU TV project.
Oh, yes. Oh, and by the way, yeah, Hawkeye and Guardians of the Galaxy is on my Christmas list now.
Yeah.
It's in my Christmas rotation. Yeah.
Yeah. Guardians Holiday Special was also really good. Werewolf by Night and Agatha were just better than it.
I'm pissed off they haven't continued it, tell you the truth. Give us a Man-Thing. Give us the
especially because they already set up Man-Thing and Elsa Bloodstone in Werewolf by Night. So why not?
It. Like every Halloween, put out that Halloween special. It sounds good. Yeah.
Because I mean, Agatha came out at exactly the perfect time. It was perfect Halloween fodder, and I will definitely be returning to it every year. I actually bought the soundtrack vinyl for Agatha, or rather, it was a Christmas gift this year.
Yeah, I remember that too, Glenn. I remember when people thought the Star Wars prequels were horrible. Let me tell you something, and you're old enough to remember. Nobody really hated the prequels until after. I mean, we didn't like Jar Jar, but and we thought the kid was a bad actor. He was. Even in Jingle All the Way, which is also on my Christmas rotation, he was a bad actor. But every year I watch Jake Lloyd, you know. But it's kind of like the Titanic thing. Those movies were huge because we wanted to watch them, we enjoyed them, and then after they were done, it was like, the prequels. Well, that was stupid.
The prequels got a lot of hate because they came out at the perfect time to be the first like internet-based movie, and so a lot of the early internet culture was the Star Wars fandom shitting on the prequels, and oh, sweet summer child, if you only knew how good you had it.
Well, Austin's right on this one. The prequels are still bad. It's just the sequels are even. I'll tell you what elevated this. I don't know if Ashley's still here. She can tell you this. We used to go to the movies, and even with my kids, I pay for one. I take them to see all the others, but they would always steer me into the Star Wars films. We would watch a film and they would go, oh, let's go watch Star Wars. Let's go watch Star Wars. And we did. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because my daughters enjoyed it a lot more as well. I think
you want a really controversial Star Wars. You want a really controversial Star Wars opinion? There's only one good movie in every trilogy of Star Wars. In the original trilogy, it's Empire. That's the good one. New Hope and Return of the Jedi are not that great. I'm sorry. And prequel-wise, Revenge of the Sith is the good one. The other two are mostly disposable. Sadly enough, the good Star Wars movie that Disney made isn't even part of the actual trilogy. It's Rogue One.
I agree that is the best one. Now, I will disagree with you. Star Wars was a good movie, and so was Return of the Jedi. But I also think I once had an argument with my dad about Bonanza. It's an old Western TV show. It's also the first TV show ever in color. And my dad said, you would have liked it. And I was like, I don't like it now. I wouldn't have liked it. And we got in this big argument, which now I understand. I would have liked it because it was the first television in color, show in color. And you'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's in color. And that, would have drawn you in. It is so easy for young people like yourself. I know you're 27, 8 right
29.
now, right?
Thank 29, you. Okay. I'm staring down the barrel of 30, and yes, it is rather mortifying.
It's a lot easier to look at something that was created 50 years ago and go, yeah, it's not that good, and not understand the historical context. And you could say you understand it. You'll understand it on an intellectual level, but you could not at all understand it on the emotional level like somebody who had been there, especially somebody who was 8 years old the first time they see that, because you never saw anything like that before.
And I can understand that bias, but here's the thing. To me, it is a bias, and therefore it doesn't factor into my calculations.
Yeah, but the same for your generation, it would be somebody who looks at like Lord of the Rings and goes, "It ain't that great." You know, like RDV, but RDV was around then, so I guess you could take
Fellowship. Fellowship is the best. Fellowship is the best of the Lord of the Rings movies. While we're in the middle of controversial opinions that are probably going to get me kicked. And to be fair, Ethereal Dragon, I did warn you that it was a controversial opinion before I said it, so don't at me.
I disagree with you because I think The Two Towers is best because it has neither a beginning or an ending. Anywho, with that said, guys, I've got to take off because we got a cover ranking in about 3 minutes. Saying that to Gen X is, I know, right? The Star Wars thing. Unsubbed. I'm the one that likes it. Why are you unsubbing from? He's got a channel.
No, they're reacting to me saying there's only one good Star Wars movie in every trilogy.
Yeah, that's Ethereal saying kick him. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, I did warn you. I said it was controversial before I said it.
Anyway, guys, I've got about 3 minutes to get that Mr. Sinister started if they're done with whatever they're doing over there on their channel. But yeah, tonight's cover rankings are going to be Mr. Sinister, and tomorrow's are the Kingpin. So that's cool. And I want to do this more. I want to talk about movies more. If even if we have to, I mentioned maybe doing Friday and just talking about everything we've seen. Kind of that happened tonight. We started Captain America and just kind of branched off. But yeah, please like, share, do all that, and join us for some cover rankings after this. There you go. Anyway, gotta go. Have a good night. Thank you very, very much for watching. See you.
Cheers, guys.